she's staring at.
This is The Catacomb, released in 1990 by Soft Disc and developed by John Carmack and friends. Yes, the same folks who would later form id Software and produce some games that most people have heard of, gave us this thing which started off as an Apple II game before being ported over to MS-DOS, which is what we're playing here courtesy of the Catacomb pack available for purchase at GOG.com. Catacomb, as you could probably tell, is a rather humble overhead 2D adventure game thing where you control a wizard capable of shooting fireballs and must navigate a labyrinth to fight monsters, find keys to open doors, and other tools to aid your quest to reach the exit and move on to the next level until you complete all the levels. There's two versions of Catacomb, a 10-level version that was released earlier as part of the Gamer's Edge package, which also includes a Dangerous Dave game, and a standalone title dubbed The Catacomb, or Catacomb 2, as I've heard some other people call it, which has an entirely new set of 30 levels and also lets you save your progress, though loading a game has you starting at the beginning of the level with all your inventory and score intact. That's just about the only real difference between the two games, since fundamentally, gameplay remains the same across the board. For the record, the Catacomb pack also includes id Software's Catacomb 3D, which is the precursor to their better-known games, as well as 3 other Catacomb games developed by other people. And while the value of the pack likely sits with the 3D games in this package, the older 2D versions of Catacomb merit a bit of spotlight for the sake of curiosity. Whether they're actually worth playing depends on the individual player, but I don't know. I didn't mind this. I thought it was alright for what it is. At first glance, Catacomb shares some similarity to Atari arcade classic Gauntlet, which actually took inspiration from an older game called Dandy. No, not El Dandy. That's another thing entirely. Anyway, this is 1989-1990 MS-DOS IBM PC tech, so we're dealing with PC speaker noises from stern to stem. Sound cards weren't quite a thing yet, so you've got simple sounding sound effects and no music. Some of these sound effects may or may not have made their way to future id games if you pay close enough attention to that sort of detail. Also, speaking of ancient PC tech, marvel at the choice to play the game in either exciting 4-color CGA or enhanced 16-color EGA. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Your characters are relatively tiny, your power-ups are even tinier, and your level layouts are somewhat plain looking with the pink walls and stuff. On the bright side though, the scrolling is relatively smooth. Probably would have looked better on an actual DOS machine of the time with more contemporary specs, but whatever, this looks fine regardless on this emulated DOS box thing. Anywho, Catacomb places you in the role of a wizard named Johnny, I'm going by what the wall says anyway, who has to escape the labyrinthian catacombs by finding the magic mirror that serves as the exit to each stage. Said mirror is usually locked behind a door, which usually requires a key you need to seek out, but sometimes you'll need to shoot at walls to reveal hidden paths because the game can be that obtuse. Now the good news is that while Catacomb might look like Gauntlet, it is not Gauntlet. Your health isn't dwindling down with every passing second, and there are no monster generators filling the screen. You kill a monster, they stay dead. At least until you exit the level, or die, or whatever. Not only can you collect keys to unlock doors, but you can also stock up on other collectible items that can be used with the press of a key on the keyboard. Potions can restore your health to maximum when you need it, lightning scrolls can let you shoot a continuous stream of fireballs, and the nuke scroll lets you shoot a volley of fireballs in most directions. At the very least, you have a basic fireball attack of which you have an unlimited number of shots to lob at your opponents, and you can even hold down the fire button to charge your shot for a more powerful attack, particularly useful against larger boss monsters. There's also a button that lets you face a single direction while moving about, one of the earliest instances of strafing to be implemented in a game like this, but not so much circle strafing, we haven't reached that point yet. The Catacomb is not an overly complicated game. It's a simple, straightforward overhead romp through the dungeons that tend to favor pushing the player towards finding false walls to shoot and unveil hidden paths. It's a bit of a sour spot with some of these levels, I feel. I mean, there's exploration and there's wasting time wall humping, or shooting walls in this case. There's a fine line there that the Catacomb jumps over way too often, but other than that, it offers 30 levels of quaint yet playable overhead shooting fun. There's no button remapping feature that I could find at least. I haven't tested for joystick support, but keyboard control isn't too bad. It works well enough despite the awkwardness of having all the different items mapped up to different keys spread across the keyboard. Clearly, it'll be a while before we discover the viability and convenience of using number keys as a tool to activate things. They're much closer together. Both Catacomb and the Catacomb, Catacomb 2, whatever you want to call it, are included in GOG.com's Catacomb pack, which also compiles the 3D Catacomb games that I'd imagine are the true draw of this package. And truth to be told, mild curiosity into the early days of the group that would form id Software was a main reason for giving these earlier titles a shot in the first place, just to see where it all began, or something close to that at least. The games themselves are obviously relics of a different time. They're playable, they're functional, they got the ball rolling on something once upon a time, but it's not exactly a hidden gem or anything that you need to go out of your way to play, especially when you can find other games of this ilk that are honestly far more enjoyable to play. Still, everyone has to start somewhere, and I suppose that pretty much sums up Catacomb in a nutshell.